babe, what's up? Can't fall asleep. Oh, is that because I'm reading next to you? I'm sorry if my book light's a little bright. I didn't think it was bothering you. No, it's not that. Anxiety. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to fall asleep when your brain wants to think about like 100 billion things all at the same time. What book am I reading? Oh, it's just a book about Greek mythology. Yeah, the stories about Greek gods, heroes, and monsters. The things that the Greeks thought controlled the world and made it all up. Yeah, it's a pretty fun read. A little weird at certain points, but, it's still pretty interesting. And I really enjoy it. Oh, you want me to tell you about it? Well, sure, yeah. I can tell you a little bit about Greek mythology, and then maybe that'll help you fall asleep. Okay, well then start at the beginning. In the beginning, there is the Big Bang, of course, naturally. But from the Big Bang, created the primordials, and these things made up like the sea, the mountains, the air, and of course Earth, which was Gaia. There was also another primordial named Tartarus, and he resided within Gaia. He was sort of like a jail cell, a big giant prison for all things evil. Well, as the primordials created Earth and they slowly shaped it, Gaia sort of got really lonely. So she created some companions for her. And one of those companions she created was the sky. This was Uranus. And he was the creation of, he was the creator of all things like the stars and all that. And he used to look down on Gaia. Gaia would look up at her. And sometimes he would come down and he would have fun with Gaia. And from their little fun, they ended up having 12 kids. These were known as the Titans. And the Titans were supposed to be the first rulers of the world. They would help shape different aspects about it. Like Kronos, he's an important one. He was the Titan of time. Well, later on, the sky came down. Uranus came down and he had more kids with Gaia. And then from those kids they had 3 Cyclopses. Big beasts with only 1 eye and 3 fingers. Then there was the 3 Hecatoncheires. These guys were like 100 arms and 50 heads. And I will be honest with you, Uranus looked at them and said they were really ugly. And he was like, I don't think those are my kids, they're kind of ugly. Well, he decided to grab them and throw them into Tartarus because he didn't want to keep looking at them from up in the sky. And of course, Gaia, being the good mother, she kind of grew sad at that. She didn't want her kids locked up, so she turned to the Titans and asked one of them, hey, can one of y'all kind of beat up your dad and free your brothers? And most of the Titans didn't want to, until Kronos. He decided, yeah, I can do that. So he went and took the moon when it was in the shape of a sickle, and he waited for Uranus to come down, and he sliced him. He sliced him open. And out of Uranus came his blood. He also sliced off his weenie. And that fell to Gaia. And when they fell to Gaia, they ended up creating more creatures, such as the giants and the nymphs. And his weenie created something too, but we'll get to that later, okay? Well, after Kronos defeated Uranus, sort of cursed Kronos and said, hey, since you betrayed me and kind of cut me, I hope your kids one day betray you. Well, after Uranus left, Kronos became the ruler of Earth. And Gaia was like, can you free your brothers now? And Kronos was kind of like, nah. If I free them, they're not going to listen to me. They want a piece of the Earth, and I don't think I want to share with them other than my brothers. You know, the other Titans. So, Kronos ended up ruling over Earth, and he took his sister Rhea as his wife. And from there, they sort of, they had their own kids, and they watched over the world. But as Kronos had his kids, he kind of got worried about the whole curse thing that Uranus put on him. So, after Rhea gave birth to 5 kids, Kronos ate them, and he ate them all up. But on their 6th kid, Rhea got really scared and she didn't want to lose another kid, so after she gave birth, she swapped her baby out with a rock and gave it to Kronos and said, hey, this is our kid. You can eat him now. And Kronos, he wasn't maybe the brightest guy around, but he was like, okay, sounds good. And he ate the rock. Eventually, that baby ended up growing up. And that baby grew up being raised by nymphs and the first versions of the humans. And when he grew up, he became Zeus, the first god to ever walk upon Gaia. So, after he was walking, he thought, I kind of want to get revenge on Kronos. So let me find a way to free my siblings. And then we're going to fight him. So what Zeus did was he disguised himself as a beggar. Or as a old person, I guess you can say. And he went and took wine to Kronos and said, oh great Kronos, this is my offering to you. You should really drink this. This stuff is really good. Kronos was once again an idiot and didn't see through the disguise and said, yeah, sure, why not? And he's a good sacrifice, So Kronos drank it. And it made him sick. So sick that he ended up throwing up all the babies. Out came Hades, Hestia, Poseidon, Hera, and Demeter. And these were the other 5 babies that Zeus was related to. Eventually, they were freed, and they were adults already because they were still alive in Kronos' stomach. But once they gathered their thoughts, they joined Zeus and said, yeah, we're gonna fight Kronos. And Kronos went to his Titan brothers and said, yeah, well, we're not gonna let you take our thrones, right? So they all fought. Some Titans chose not to fight, but most of them did. And as the gods fought the Titans, they're kind of getting their butts kicked. So then Zeus thought, hey, you know what? Why don't I go free my uncles? Maybe they'll help us. And they did. The Hecatoncheires and Cyclopses, they helped Zeus. They even gave Zeus and his brothers, Hades and Poseidon, some really cool weapons. I don't think they ever gave the females any weapons, which I guess kind of makes sense for the time, but I don't know. Anyways, they gave Hades an invisible helmet, Poseidon a trident, and Zeus a lightning bolt. And they defeated the Titans, and then they casted the Titans into Tartarus. This kind of made Gaia mad again because she was kind of like, I want all of y'all to be free and nice to each other. Why can't y'all just do that? So this time Gaia cursed Zeus and said, well, just as you overthrew your father, I hope one of these days one of your kids overthrows you. Well, Zeus ended up actually marrying a nymph that helped raise him when he was a kid. And when he slowly grew up, he kind of realized, oh man, maybe Gaia might be onto something. Maybe that might happen to me. So he tricked the nymph into transforming into a fly, and then he swallowed her. Then he decided, well, I still need a queen since I'm now the new king of the gods, which were what they were called now. So he ended up marrying his sister as Hera. And then from there, the other gods took their place amongst him as the Olympians, except Hades, who became the ruler of the underworld, and Hestia, who sort of became the fires of Olympus, the fire keeper, of course. Well, to fill out the other 12 Olympian spots, Zeus ended up having other kids, especially with Hera. He had Hephaestus and Ares, the god of war and the god of smithing and fire. Those two were the two sons of Zeus, and they took their place amongst his Olympian thrones. And then eventually Zeus had other kids with other women's because he was just the kind of guy who couldn't keep it in his pants. He ended up having two twin gods, Artemis and Apollo. Apollo being the god of the sun and Artemis the goddess of the moon. And then he had Hermes, who was the messenger god, and he sort of helped deliver people to the underworld and deliver messages from the gods. And then eventually Zeus had I almost said Poseidon, sorry. I meant to say he had his son Dionysus, who was the god of partying and drinking. And then eventually Zeus's head started really hurting, so he asked Hephaestus to cave in his head and cut it open because he was having such a bad headache. You know, when you get those really bad headaches and you just wish someone took an axe and split your head open. Well, they did that. And out sprung Athena. And she was the smartest goddess of all. So Zeus gave her the place of goddess of war and strategy. She's sort of Zeus's favorite. Now you may be wondering, you may be thinking, but babe, that's only 11 gods as Olympians, not counting Hades and Hestia, of course. And you'd be right, because remember when I said Uranus got his weenie cut off? Well, it fell into the ocean, and eventually it morphed and slowly changed into a seashell, which gave birth to a beautiful woman. This woman was known as Aphrodite, and she was the goddess of beauty. Well, Zeus decided, hey, let's make her a god. But just to make sure he didn't piss off his wife again for trying to sleep with her, he decided, hey, why don't you marry my son Hephaestus? He may be ugly, but, you know, he can make some pretty cool shit. So, that made up the 12 gods. Now, all of them kind of did a bunch of different things, and throughout history they sort of influenced heroes and monsters, and I would love to go through all of it with you, but you seem pretty sleepy now. Yeah, I can tell, you're starting to fall asleep. Well, if you really like this story, and you start to feel kind of hard to fall asleep, it's becoming harder to focus. If you really want, you just just let me know and I'll tell you more stories about the Greek gods and all the people they helped and all the people's lives they kind of ruined. Because to be honest, they were kind of assholes. But you go to sleep now, okay? And then maybe tomorrow I'll tell you